All right, welcome. Today, we are going to crack the code on construction. We're diving into the unique language of builders and architects so you can understand what's happening on any project, literally from the ground up.
You've been there, right? You're on a job site or maybe just listening to a contractor and you feel totally lost in the jargon. It's like they're speaking a whole different dialect. Well, don't worry, we're here to translate for you.
And look, this isn't just trivia to make you sound smart. Getting these terms right is absolutely critical. The success of a massive project can literally hinge on everyone speaking and, more importantly, understanding the exact same language.
Okay, let's get into it. Before anyone even thinks about digging a hole, the entire project gets built with words and drawings. This is the paper foundation, the legal and technical bedrock for everything that comes next.
You know, a design doesn't just appear out of thin air. It evolves. It might start as something as simple as a bubble diagram, literally just circles showing how rooms connect. From there, it gets more and more detailed, moving through schematic design and design development until you finally get the construction drawings. Those are the blueprints, the final map for the builders.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. You might think a contract is just boring legal stuff, right? Not at all. It actually sets the power dynamic for the whole project. You've got AIA contracts, which tend to protect the owner and the architect's original vision, and then you have AGC contracts, which often give the contractor more wiggle room. So the piece of paper you sign can decide who gets the final say down the road.
And here's the classic question every project owner has to answer. What do you value more, certainty or transparency? If you want to know the exact price up front, you go with a lump sum contract. But if you want to see where every penny is going and have more flexibility, you might choose a cost-plus contract, even if the final bill isn't set in stone.
All right, enough with the paperwork. Let's get our boots muddy and head out to the actual site. We're going to see how this thing actually rises out of the ground piece by piece.
Think of a building as a giant system with one main job: channel its own incredible weight safely into the earth. It all starts with a footing, which is like the building's snowshoes, spreading out the load. Then you have the foundation, the joists that hold up the floors, and the trusses, which use the simple strength of a triangle to support the roof. It's an elegant puzzle.
And that weight? It's not just one simple number. Engineers have to deal with two kinds. First, you've got the dead load. That's the building itself, just sitting there. But then you have the live load. It's everything else. It's us, our furniture, a heavy snowstorm on the roof. The building has to be strong enough to handle the worst-case scenario of both combined.
So the skeleton is up. What's next? Well, we need to give it a skin, what we call the envelope, and all its vital organs. These are the systems that make it a comfortable, livable space.
When you talk about performance, one term is king: R-value. It's basically a grade for how well something insulates. And all you really need to know is this: the higher the R-value, the cozier you'll be in the winter and the cooler you'll stay in the summer, all while saving a ton on energy bills.
And this chart just says it all. I mean, look at this. An inch of brick has a teeny tiny R value of 0.2. But an inch of modern polyurethane foam, it's over 6. That is a 30-fold increase in insulating power. It just shows how far building science has come. It's incredible.
MEP. Sounds technical, right? But just think of it as the building's life support system. Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. These are the building's lungs, its nervous system, and its circulatory system, all hidden inside the walls and all carefully designed so they don't crash into each other.
Okay, communication on a job site is a tale of two worlds. You've got the super formal, by-the-book stuff, and then you have the way people actually talk to get things done.
So what happens when a builder finds a mistake on the plans? They can't just guess. They have to submit a formal request for information, or RFI. It's basically a way of saying, hey, this doesn't make sense, please clarify. It creates a paper trail and makes sure everyone is on the same page before they build something wrong.
But it is not all formal paperwork. No way. Beyond all that, there's a whole other language that gets spoken on site. It's the slang, the shorthand that builds camaraderie and just makes the day go by faster. Let's cover a few of the best ones. First up, the most important piece of safety gear you own. You don't call it a hard hat. Nope. You call it your brain bucket. Simple, effective, gets the point across.
Next, the one tool you will find on absolutely every single job site in the entire world. It can fix anything, at least for a little while. That's not duct tape. That's Alabama Chrome.
And finally, a term for something you really, really hope you never have to experience. That unfortunate blue splashback from the porta potty,
That's known as Smurf kisses. Let's just say it's a good reason to be careful.
But here's the thing. This language is never static. It's always evolving with our technology and our priorities. So let's wrap up by looking at the new ideas and the new words that are shaping the future of building.
The push for sustainability is creating some amazing terms. We're not just building anymore. In some cases, we're growing our materials. Hempcrete actually sucks carbon out of the air. Mycelium uses the roots of mushrooms to make insulation. And CLT lets us build wooden skyscrapers that are as strong as steel.
And it's not just what we're building with, it's how we're building. 3D concrete printing is on another level. You have a robotic arm that just follows a digital plan, squeezing out concrete layer by layer to create walls. It's faster, it's less wasteful, and it can build these incredible curved shapes that used to be pretty much impossible.
Which really brings us back to the main idea, right? From lump sum to live load, from rain bucket to hempcrete, the words we use define the world we can create. So as our tools and our dreams get bigger, the real question is, what new language will we have to invent to build them?